Welcome to Basic Budget. In today's video, we are going to be looking at a few clips from TikTok, from some people that have made some mistakes at some points, and others that are learning from their mistakes. First up is this clip from Caleb Hammer's show Financial Audit.
Capital One credit card. Let's see. Last time it was $260, now it's $248. So obviously we put money out. Yeah, there it is. $85 a transaction. So what is happening? This is the third time, and honestly, if we're not making any progress or any desire to make progress, I'm not gonna have you on again. What are we doing? This was nothing. Nothing happened here. So what have you done this last year? Do you not care to get out of debt?
Yeah, I'll get that right away. Even if I have the money, you're never getting it. Oh, I'll get that for you right away, sir. Here you go. That's me rushing to pay Toyota Financial. That's me rushing to pay Aprilia Financial. Oh, I just remembered. I owe a bunch of people a lot of money. Let me sprint to go pay that.
That probably was from July to June when I lost my job, but yeah,
the statement's October 13th and you purchased $85.
No, it's from like a snowball effect from June, July. I was doing good after our last follow-up. Like I was working the 2 jobs that I told you about, but I wasn't getting any sleep.
Okay. Well, obviously, if it was unhealthy, unsustainable, we figured out our job situation and try to make it a little better around that to make life exist. If it's obviously doesn't work in the way you were doing it. But either way, I mean, you were getting Papa Johnson stopping at a gas station and getting some bullshit. So it's like, it's not like these were bills or anything. These weren't bills. You were going out and just getting stupid.
The problem here is getting caught in a cycle of credit card debt, only paying minimums or not paying the entire balance. At 20 or 30%, the interest starts to stack up fast. Using a credit card interest calculator can really put this in perspective. Here's an example. Let's say you have $8,000 in credit card debt. If you pay $250 on this per month, it will take 5 years to pay off. Not only that, but you will end up paying almost double in interest payments. Do not get yourself into this cycle.
My credit cards got the best of me. To paint the picture, I was a teacher that got my hands on $17K in credit card debt and I started balling out. These are 2 of 6 credit cards that I maxed out. But
Cause I have $30,000 in credit card debt. When they call, I tell them I can't pay it back yet. Credit card debt. Tomorrow I may buy myself a dining room set or this Boba Fett. Credit card debt, credit card debt, credit card debt.
But I was able to pay off all that debt in 1 year, and this is exactly how I did it. These are the 6 credit cards that I maxed out. I put them in order from largest balance to smallest balance. I started by putting as much money as possible at my smallest card, while simultaneously making minimum payments at the other 5. And because this balance was the smallest, I was able to pay this off really quick. This initial payoff allows you the satisfaction of a quick win, and that's really important. Then I took all that money that I was using to pay off that first one and started rolling that into Capital One. From there, I just kept going. And eventually, I was able to pay off this biggest one in no time. This method is known as the debt snowball, and it was popularized by Dave Ramsey. Now, I'm not a mega fan of Dave Ramsey, but he is really good for getting people out of debt. Like, follow, and let me know in the comments how you're going after your debt.
This is a great video because he not only told us how he got into debt, he also tells us how he got out of it. What he mentioned is called the Snowball Method. This method works psychologically because you pay off your smallest balance first, and that small win keeps you motivated to keep chipping away at your debt. I will leave a link to this free spreadsheet by Vertex42 in the description for anyone interested. This will allow you to list out all of your debt and interest rates and give you a plan to pay them off. Here is a real-life example. This spreadsheet helped me to pay off my personal debts in 6 months. Personally, I prefer the Avalanche Method because you end up paying less interest overall at the end. We will cover this later.
With the Avalanche Method, you pay the minimums on all your accounts, but dedicate any extra payments to the account with the highest interest rate. This method ignores the psychological aspects a bit, but it tends to be the more rational method. Say you have the credit card balance of the average American, which earlier last year was $7,279. At the high end, the minimum payment on that might be around $291 or 4% of the balance. With a 0% interest rate, that means you'll pay it off in about 25 months and only pay that $7,279 payment. But say your debt looks more average and you have a 27% interest rate, which is in line with what we're seeing now. Tack that on without charging the minimum, and you'll have this debt paid off in 35 months with a total payment of $10,122.
Caleb is pretty smart when it comes to personal finance, so I will defer to him here. Ultimately, which method you choose has to do with what kind of person you are. Are you logical and analytical? Or do your emotions sometimes cloud your judgment and get in the way when it comes to finances? If you're the latter, stick with the Snowball Method. If you're the former, try the Avalanche Method. Either way, you are making progress towards your goals.
I have $40,000 in credit cards for zero. So let's talk about it. First of all, that is a statement that I thought I would be taking to my grave. I never thought I would tell another soul, and in fact, until today, I have never told another soul about my struggles with credit cards.
I understand the shame and stress that comes with a high amount of debt, but $40,000 worth of credit card debt is terrifying. My heart would be racing 24/7 if I was in this situation. Credit card companies won't hesitate to raise your credit limit once they see they can take advantage of your spending habits. Don't let this be you.
This is not the beginning. If we rewind all the way back to about 19 or 20-year-old Lana, that is when my journey with credit card debt began. I was 19 years old and I was dating a man who was 31, and he did not support me or help me financially in any way, and I was trying to live his lifestyle off my minimum wage job, and I was living outside my means, to be quite frank.
Lifestyle creep is another trap that people fall into without being aware of the situation they are in. They get a raise or a large tax return, and instead of thinking in terms of longevity, they think short-term and end up spending all of that extra money, instead of putting it towards investments or a high-yield savings account, where that money could have been working for their benefit. Instead, it gets dumped into a new car, which will lose half its value once driven off the lot. We hear a lot about keeping up with the Joneses, and how this is damaging to reaching our financial goals. The richest people I know are driving older cars that they paid for in cash.
I got myself into credit card debt. I stayed in credit card debt until I was about 21, at which point I was able to pay it off over the course of just like really cutting back and being very diligent about making as many extra payments as I could to my debt. And then I got out of it and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the most freeing thing. I'm never doing that again. And then I did. And then I paid that debt off. And you know what? I repeated the cycle again. I'm in my third cycle of credit card debt, and at this point, my threshold has just gotten so big. Your threshold for debt increases with time, right? It's just like your threshold for anything else that creates stress in your life. Over time, your body has to adapt to the current conditions, so your threshold for what it can hold expands. So right now, the number 40 probably feels staggering to some of you, but it's not a number that I feel fear around. So why am I sharing this with all of you? Well, because this debt that I've carried on and off for almost all of my 20s has cultivated so much shame for me. So much shame. I directly had my self-worth tied up into my financial picture. And so I thought that because of the fact that I had this debt, I was not worthy. I was not worthy. And as I've been doing a deep dive into my subconscious mind, just really into my psyche in general over the last couple of years, I have looked at everything very, very, very honestly, but money's been the one thing that I've been avoiding. The one thing that I've been avoiding. And over the last month, I have gotten to a place where I cannot avoid it anymore because I am in a...
You should feel fear at this level of debt. At just 20%, your debt will double in only 5 years. Those shiny toys you bought are not worth the stress you will have for years and years if you keep going down this path.
My personal opinion of getting a personal loan to pay off your credit card debt. We'll go over the pros and cons in just a second, but first, how a personal loan works is if you have $15,000 in credit card debt, you take out a loan for that same amount to pay off your credit cards. Then once you take out the loan, you pay off your credit cards. Now you just owe the loan, not the credit cards. This will help your credit score because your balances will be down to zero. When you get a personal loan, you could be qualified for a lower interest rate, but that's going to depend on things like your credit score, your other debts that you have, and things like that. Our interest rates on our credit cards are usually very high, so having a lower interest rate definitely doesn't hurt as long as you don't go spending back on your cards again. When you take out a personal loan, it puts all of your credit cards into one large payment that you're then paying off to the loan. Another good thing about loans is when you're making loan payments, you usually cannot spend that money back unless you took out a home equity line of credit, which is different from a personal loan. So I do like loans for that reason as well. But I don't really love the idea of having a personal loan for these reasons over here. Once you take out a personal loan, you pay off the credit cards, the balances are down to zero. What happens a lot of times is people will spend all of the money back on the credit cards and then they end up owing both the credit cards and the personal loan. So in this case, you would owe 30 if you did that instead of just the original 15 from the cards. If you don't have your spending under control, this may just create a bigger mess and you might end up owing double. So just be careful. And a lot of times before you get a personal loan, you have to pay off your credit card sum anyway in order to get a good credit score to be.
I am conflicted on this one. Taking out a personal loan to pay off your credit card debt is a good idea, in theory, if you have a good enough credit score to get a lower rate than your cards. However, this does not solve the behavioral problem of overspending, which is how one gets in this situation in the first place. Without first solving this problem, someone who gets into debt like this in the first place will end up right back at square one given enough time. I would say that this decision depends on what type of person you are. If you're willing to cut the spending and stop using all credit cards, then this may be a method that works for you. You have my sincere thanks for watching my very first video. Please don't hesitate to let me know what you think down in the comments. Please share this with someone if you think they may benefit from this type of knowledge. I plan to make more videos in the future, covering a wide range of topics in personal finance, from saving to investing, debt, buying a house or a car, and more. I created this YouTube channel to help people like me who never learned these things in school. All I ask is that you subscribe for more videos like this, and leave a like if you liked the video. Let's build this thing together.